Hello everybody, welcome to my newest video here. Today I'm going to be talking about a couple things with you guys. First off, I did some cool things. I finally made a wet box. I'll go kind of over what a wet box is. This morning I also got to see a pottery friend of mine. He teaches and he asked me to come mix some glazes for him. He gave me some clay as payment for mixing some glazes, so you know, he's just a really great guy and I'm glad I could help him out. Afterwards, I cleaned up. I'm gonna be done with cleaning tomorrow the basement, which is gonna be huge for my new pottery area that I'm making. And then after that, I sort of went through my day. I made a comment on a video online, and I got some really cool responses. I'll go over that. I got another mug video for you at the end, and then that's about it. Yeah, I was reclaiming some clay. But you guys will see that in a second here. Thank you guys so much for watching. See you in a sec. Peace. Alright. Hello everybody, it's me. I wanted to start today off a little bit differently. And I wanted to, you know, I follow like a lot of like motivational stuff online, right? And I don't really ever post comments on it or something, you know, just because it's just not my style. But this one I felt, you know, maybe I'll try something. And wouldn't you believe it? In like 7 hours, right? I got 5 comments on the comment, right? And the comment goes as such, right? What are you guys working towards? Let me know. I'm curious, right? And I got 3 likes, but it got five comments. So first of all, that tells me right off the bat that these people who are commenting, they want to be like hurt. They want to tell you about it, right? They want to tell you something. Like they're eager, right? They rather type out something than click a button. That right there, that's really a powerful indicator, right, in my mind. The first guy, he says, it can be relative. For me, it's studying. Competitive exams. This video's lines can be applied literally to do whatever you're doing in life, right? And so, I mean, this guy, he's a very analytical person, right? But he's found that, like I'll put the video, I'll play the video quick. Sorry, I don't know if I'm actually allowed to play the video, but I'm going to do it anyway.
Your time's going to come, trust me. You got to work.
Just keep working. You're not getting what you want, keep working. You are getting what you want, keep working.
Turn your feelings off when it comes down to you wanting to be better.
Tired is only in the mind. You tell yourself you're tired, you're going to be tired.
How about days off? One day, but not today. You have to be willing to outwork everybody in the world. You must be willing to extend yourself to the limit with no guarantee of success.
Okay. Anyway, so now that you saw the video, you can see that it's definitely geared towards like people doing on physical endeavors, right? They talk about tired, they talk about, you know, days off, like, yeah, all this stuff. But I really do believe this, right? And that's what I'm trying to do with pottery, right? Is that it can be relative. For me, it's studying, competitive exams, right? He says it can be applied to whatever you're doing in life. I totally agree. It can be applied to anything, and it can, and I think that's what a lot of people don't understand, and that's where a lot of stigma is around the physical side of it, right? But it really can be to anything, and that goes to show, like, I hope that you guys can find something in your life, or everybody can find something that like wants them to desire something that much, right? But I thought that was a really good comment, right? Because I'm doing that with my pottery. The next guy, he says, on being financially free, right? I think a lot of people in America, I mean, that one got the most likes, right? That one got 5 likes. And so it seems like a lot of people, that's like their biggest goal. And I totally agree. I think that like being financially free, right, where you can stop being a burden on society and people around you, right? That is a step one for a lot of people, especially young people. And so that also goes to show me that these guys, and looking at their images too, their like icons, these guys they're all young. They're all young guys who are commenting on this stuff, right? The next guy says, the better version of me, right? I don't know what that means necessarily, but I can relate to that feeling, right? Like, obviously, you know, you're not going to type your whole life story, right? So some of these comments are more for oneself to put into voice and to put into the world, like what they are trying to voice internally, right? And so there's one at the end that I think is like that as well. But I always think that being a better version of yourself is important, right? Like, you can't, I've always thought, I don't want to disrespect the people I care about by not bringing forth my best version of myself to them, right? And maybe that's what they're getting at, I'm not sure. The next person, he said, "Thank you so much, brother, for this question." Whoa. That, for me, you know, that made me feel good, right? Like, that somebody else also understands that these are the types of dialogues that are never really talked about. They're never really, even amongst like my friend groups, right? Well, I never sit down with my bros and I'm never like, what are you guys working towards? Let me know, I'm curious. Because sometimes it's just not the right environment for that stuff, right? But it is something I think that is important to talk about, and oftentimes I don't think guys want to open up themselves like that to their friends in that particular way. So I think that somebody just affirming that they are thankful that this question existed, that it tells you how much like people and young men are starved for some sense of like value and guidance, right? And I don't ever think, like, I don't want this channel to ever be like the antidote to these feelings, right? Because I actually think that, and I really believe that nobody's coming to save you. I think the coolest thing a man can do is like try to save themselves and then try to uplift the people around them, right? I think that's the coolest thing, is if you can be an apple tree, right? And you can foster your own tree, and then that it can be provided to help other people later on, right? I think that's like really cool. And then this next guy said, he just said basketball. But yo, for that question to just write basketball, like something in my mind tells me that this guy's like really grinding for it. That's like the only thing he cares about. I can imagine myself saying pottery, like if I saw this question, right? Like I think out of all the questions, I think the guy who's really going after the most might probably be this last guy, just because he's so blunt. He just doesn't really care, you know? But there's not a value to these things, by the way, right? Like, there's not like a hierarchy of, there is a value, but there's not a hierarchy of which one is better than the other, right? I always think that somebody defining a goal and trying to attack that goal, no matter what, is valuable to everybody that is around it, right? I think one of the best ways that you can really, it's kind of echoing what I said earlier, the best way that you can care about others, right, is really by drowning yourself in your own value, right? And some might say, oh, isn't that self-serving, right? But you don't understand, like, if a guy doesn't feel like they have anything to offer society, they're gonna default to degeneracy, and then they're gonna become a negative influence in the world, right? And so any time that you have the potential, or you have the opportunity to sort of foster positive growth in somebody's life, and for me specifically, I'm a young man, so I want to help out other young men. I think that, like, just asking a question and giving the opportunity for someone to voice something that they're thinking about with like zero judgment, right? That's like really good, you know. And it's not saying judgment's bad. I do think judgment is good, right? Like, if somebody wants to be freaking the best I don't even know, have the highest score for car crashes, right? Like that's obviously like very fantastical, but you get the idea. Like if they want the best in something that's sort of negative in that way, right? We as a society need to be able to judge them and tell them, hey, like, don't be getting in car crashes, bro. Right? But if somebody wants to be the best in basketball, right? Or if somebody wants to be academically, they want to be the top of their thing, right? Like we got to be able to like tell these people to get after it, right? I'm not saying we got to support them and coddle them, right? Because I think that's like the opposite of what a lot of guys want, right? They don't want that coddleness. They want something that they feel they've earned themselves and something that other people, you know, find is valuable, right? And a lot of people, if you can just do that, like be in that person's aura and be like, not rooting for them, but just have faith in them. Holy crap. And so to all those guys who commented on my comment on that video, you know, best of luck to you. I hope wherever your heart finds value, I hope you can find that, and I hope you achieve it as well. And I'm always hoping that one day like I'll find somebody on the YouTube who's like trying to grind it out just like me on this YouTube thing, and I'll be able to watch and I'll follow their channel, and I'll get to watch them grind it out just like how I am too, you know. But sorry that took the first 10 minutes of the video, but I thought that was like really important, you know. And I guess I'll go into my day today. My day started off as I went to, it's Monday, so I went in to see a fellow potter of mine, and you know, he has me mix glazes for him, and so that's what I did. I went there and I mixed some glazes. And I always tell him, I say, you know, he tries to pay me, you know, and I always feel uncomfortable with it because, you know, mixing glazes, it's not that difficult, you know. It's really not that difficult, but what it is, and so like when he asked me to like pay me and stuff like that, I get really uncomfortable because I like being there. I like talking to the guy, you know. It just feels uncomfortable to have him pay me. But he paid me in clay today. He paid me, yeah, he gave me 125 pounds of clay. I've mixed 2 glazes for him now, and that's it, you know. And he's just very thankful. And I always have good discussions with him. He tells me about stuff. He gives me the names of potters, tells me about his process. So I learned so much from this gentleman. He's an older guy, but he's a potter. And so I always thought that it's kind of cool hearing like stories of some of these old potters on why they chose it, right? I mean, some of them is pretty just like what you'd think. You know, they opened a kiln and they just became addicted of it, right? But some of them, I think, echo maybe a feeling that I feel is that it gives them that sense of value, right? And so I've always thought that I really enjoy talking with that guy because sometimes he says some things and I'm just like, oh man, I totally relate. Look at this one. Fuck, guys. This one's in the nuts. This one's nuts. This one has like, it feels uplifted. It feels like it's breathing. Right? Like it feels like it just sprouted. Right? And it's about to blossom. Right? It has like a lot of life in it. But anyway, so I did that for him and then gave him a handshake and then headed out. And then I cleaned up my studio. Oh, that's what I made a wet box. I don't know if you guys know what a wet box is, but so I hope you guys know what plaster is, because I'm not going to explain plaster, but a wet box is you take some plaster, you mix some plaster, right? Some pottery #1 plaster, whatever, you know, you can use any type of plaster, I'm pretty sure. Anything that's porous and is going to take moisture. And you put it in the bottom of a like a bucket or a bin, right? A plastic bin, and I have like this long bin, and in that bin you pour the plaster in, and once it dries, you put a little bit of moisture, a little bit of water in there, and you put the lid on top. Obviously use a piece of plastic, then the lid to get a nice seal, and then you have something called a wet box. And what that is so, like, say if I'm making handles, right, but the handles like I don't have time to put them in at night, right, so I got to do them in the morning. All right, well, you set them in your wet box and they'll be just as wet as it were. Sometimes the bags are a little bit funky because, you know, if they're a little bit too wet, then you're going to make marks on your thing. And sometimes the bags have holes. Sometimes they're thin and they steal more moisture. And so it's a little bit less controllable. But if you can have an environment that kind of keeps that humidity locked into like a confined space, right? Some places they have wet rooms, right? But finally got to making a wet box. And I always think every potter, you know, especially like for me, if you're a potter like me, then it's less needed because you try to finish everything in one day, right? But for people who are working on things throughout a week, for example, they're really, really great to have. And it's going to help out the quality control of your objects. So I did that after today. Oh man, this one's kind of, we'll see if we can make this one work. This one's going to be kind of butchered a little bit. But yeah, did that, and then I started cleaning up the basement here. And so I think by the end of tomorrow, it'll all be cleared out, and I'm going to start setting up for a new green screen area. So I can do more like dancing things for my edited videos, and then I want to have a backdrop for if I'm doing like some hand building stuff, like putting handles on stuff. I'd love to have a green screen backdrop. So here's the pot, guys. Like I said, the bottom's not really that crazy, but it's that the actual form itself is pretty nice. But I'd like to have a green screen backdrop, so then that you guys can see, you guys can kind of get the same level of quality as these sort of nice, kind of cropped out. You kind of get an intimate interaction with the pots this way, right? I would like for that same feeling to be carried over to the hand building stuff, right? So I'll be probably trying to do more of that stuff here coming up. And then so I cleaned that up. I threw away a bunch of boxes and stuff, trying to get rid of things and consolidate. And then I went to go mix some, well, I'm just reclaiming clay right now at one of the places that I work. And they don't, it's not a huge operation, so they don't have like some of the nice tools and knickknacks, so you kind of have to do things the old-fashioned way. So what I'm doing is I'm taking the, what is it called, like just like leftover chunks, like shit like this hard stuff, some stuff that's a little bit past leather hard, and I'm ripping it and breaking it into little chunks to dry out, and I'm rehydrating it and then pouring it out on plaster slabs and masonite boards, then to get it to a thickness where I re-wedge it into clay, and then that'll be like reclaimed clay that people can use. Right, so that's taking a long process, and so a lot of it right now is just trying to catch up so I can get in a manageable system, right? Because right now they've sort of built up through, I don't even know how many months of clay they have here, but they have quite a bit, but nothing too crazy, you know. And so I'm just sort of making my way through that ripping, and so for like 3 hours I'll just rip, right? But during that, there's this nice woman, oh my gosh, bless her soul, right? she's just working on stuff, and she's pretty good at ceramics, you know. And so I would talk to her while she's doing stuff, and then, you know, she's in that age group of people that just love to, like, just to talk to people. They love interacting with people, and so she'll talk to me the whole time if I let her. And we just are talking about every little thing, from life to family to hope to movies to all sorts of stuff, right? And I won't really tell you about her life because that's more like private information, right? But I realized that she really had in my mind, like a pretty, like, not scary, just a difficult upbringing, right? And it seemed like her later years haven't been any nicer to her as well, right? And so I was asking her about, like, where she finds, like, hope and in life, and I don't think she really had, like, a definitive answer, right? But she said that she's been going to therapy, and that's been helping her, and that's awesome, you know. But one thing that I sort of got away from the conversation is that for her, a lot of that hope lies within, it's almost like just forgetting about setting the feelings aside and keep on moving forward. You know, you're not done yet. You still have your life to live, and you still have moments that you can enjoy, right? I'm sure everybody's had moments where they're in a stage where they're crying, and then all of a sudden something weird happens, or you watch a video and then you're just like crying because you're laughing so hard, right? And so I think that may have been, you know, obviously I don't know for sure, but it seemed like she was alluding to that sort of idea, right? And it's just really nice talking to her. I learned about some bridge. She loves her history, so she always tells me about all this cool history stuff. And so I learned about some cool stuff every time I talk to her. But it's just interesting to think, right? Like, everything's in perspective, right? Some people live really, really, really difficult lives, right? Does that mean, right, that your own life is not important, right? No, I don't think so. I think everybody's life is important. But it is good to keep that stuff in perspective. It can be a really strong source of power and motivation and fuel, right? For yourself. If you can see what others have gone through, and then that can be a catalyst for next time you enter a hard spot. You know, you're not that person, right? But it's possible, right? It is possible, right? Don't count yourself out so quickly the next time you hit some sort of abrasive wall, right? Hold on, let me get this back over here. It's a fun way. My kid class, one of their favorite things to do when they would clean the wheel, they'll just throw a sponge in the wheel, and it's pushing itself because it's like dragging against the, you know what I mean? It just goes around in a circle, and they love it. They think that that's how they clean. They figured out a cool way to clean their wheel, right? I'm like, no, not really. You gotta clean it the normal way, but it is kind of neat what they find is interesting, right? The mechanic of the wheel serving a purpose. That's at least something that's interesting. But yeah, and then after that, I left that place, you know. I tried to leave, and I realized I didn't have the code to lock, so I was really late leaving. And so I think I probably would have finished my video today, or not my video, my basement cleaning today, if I didn't have that little kerfuffle of losing the code to lock up, right? Because I was the last one there. But yeah, that woman, she also freaking cut her finger really bad on a clay mixer. She was using one of those bladed kitchen mixers, and she took the guard off, or she was trying to clean the clay out of the interior of it, right? But it was still on, so she stuck her finger in there and then hit the button to start it, right, on accident. And it really took a chunk out of her finger. She put a glove over it because we couldn't find the first aid, and then all of a sudden I looked at her glove, and the whole glove, it was a blue glove, but it was freaking like brown because there was so much blood coming from her finger. And she still worked for like 2 hours, and I think I felt bad because I think she was trying to leave, but I kept drawing her into conversations. But at the end, she said she had a really nice time talking with me. So, you know, I think that was kind of badass of her to just freaking suck it up and just be like, what pain? I don't feel it. You know, she literally says she just didn't feel it. I was like, wow, I got it. Next time I cut my finger, I'm just gonna imagine her freaking glove full of blood, and I'm gonna be like, all right, this is nothing. All right, hold on. Before I start this one, I'm gonna quick stop it, and I'm gonna start it just so I can reset the time on here, because we're at 25 minutes. We're gonna go a little bit over 30 this time, guys. Sorry about that, but I just thought that introduction thing was just really important to talk about. I don't know, I'd love to one day like have a whole entire video where I have 200 replies, and the whole entire video is just me just talking about these people's goals, aspirations, and ideas. And you know how cool it would be one day if I do like pottery edit videos and I have somebody's basketball highlights of something that they find valuable in the background, right? Or another potter, you know, does some sort of collaboration with me in my videos. I'd love to be able to, you know, I don't want to be the one to give these people success. Well, first of all, because I don't have it myself, right? So there's not something I could give them other than just recognizing their efforts towards something, right? So that these people don't feel so alone in some sort of void that, you know, they think that nothing they do is interacting with the world, right? I always want to interact with them, right? I think sometimes that's all somebody needs. But yeah, right now I'm sort of working on this bottom part here. Sometimes if you like drag your finger a little bit faster, you can create like a nice spiral. And I think a lot of potters do that, and I also do that. I think it's just kind of a cool visual thing on the bottom, right? I mean, when you get a cup from a freaking factory, right? Chances are that interior is not going to have any visual thing because of the mechanics on the way slip casting works, right? Like slip casting, you're filling up a hollow shape, and that plaster that's on the outside is stealing that moisture, so then you get a thin layer of clay, right, on the outside. And so once you pour that out, there can't be any shape on the interior of or any like design on the interior of something unless it's been like altered after the fact, right? Because all it is doing is just pouring out all the stuff that didn't get, all the clay that wasn't hardened, right, on that layer, so then it becomes a hollow object. And sometimes you'll get a drip if they do them upside down. You'll see a little like bulge, right? And that's just because they're dripping the clay out upside down, right? So just kind of a quick little thing on slip casting. And so I'm thinking, okay, well, if slip casting has a harder time doing that, I'm definitely gonna freaking put that in my pots, right? felt great. That one really felt great. Look at that, guys. Ooh-wee. Okay. One, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 1, 3, 4, 6. 3, 4, 5. We're gonna. I did that with one hand there. Oh, brought it to the edge, ripped it. But we'll keep it just ripped like that this time. This time I won't poke my finger through. Kind of interesting. I never tried to do that with one hand before, but I think that's possible. Maybe I should go back to doing it with one hand and then using the other hand on the exterior as some sort of like support or something. I feel like actually I need to lift this up. I need to tuck this in so it's sitting on that support system, and so that way it doesn't just yank the rest of the top off of shape. Whoa. Wow, look at that. Got so thin, wherever it's getting thin, it's getting hydrated quicker too, because of that thin layer of water that I'm applying as I'm throwing on that exterior. And so it's kind of interesting to see how fast on a thin part it wants to fissure, where on a thicker part it sort of takes some more time, and actually sometimes it just won't even fissure. I hope it falls down and hits this edge a little bit. But I kind of want to be careful I don't totally rip here. Just because we already have that rip on the top, so it might be cool if... Ooh. It falls. So that one fell. But a cool thing that you can do, guys, why can't it just hang out on that ledge there, right? Why not? You see? You have the ability to do stuff like that. And so why not try to take advantage of those things? Like those things that sort of fall over, the little piccadillys of ceramics. Highlight them sometimes, you know, you never know how it's going to look. Maybe eventually a little glaze glob will chill out on there and freaking create something that you wouldn't even expect. Or even on all those little ripped parts, you never know, something might fall. A glaze drip might form right on the edge and really like create something, right? These little, there's a anime, right, called Hunter x Hunter, and one of the last quotes from that whole series is, "Enjoy the little detours, because that is where you'll find something more important than what you were searching for." And I feel like with that quote, what a great way to end off the video for today. Thank you guys so much for watching. All the best. Strong mentality. Peace.
I would say going to therapy and learning more about myself in realizing what's good and what's not good for me.